What's up, guys? How's it going? Okay, Five of Cups wants to pop out. Crying over spilled milk. Kind of, waiting for your soulmate to come in, but that shit ain't happening. Sorry to fucking be the bearer of bad news, but facts. Okay, you have a Libra Virgo, Queen of Wands. Let's see, what am I getting with the Libra Virgo? Excuse me, the Queen of Swords. I don't know if I said Wands. I am getting some sadness, at least in the depiction of this card. I think maybe somebody's sad or sorry over how something played out. Maybe somebody's trying to see that you're planning to move on or keep things moving with the Two of Wands here, but that's no skin off your back. That's no scratch off your back. You could go anywhere and do anything seemingly. And maybe somebody sees that about you with this Queen of Swords looking at the Two of Wands here. But you need the passion, right? It's like this person is handing the wand to you. And without passion, I'm getting new beginnings, new starts, onsets, right? With the wands here. thinking, trying to use logic to get a passion off the floor, off the ground. It's gonna take time, but ain't nobody got time for time. You know, we're living outside of space and time. We're doing some magical manifestation stuff here, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm tired of reading about time, especially with all this quarantine COVID stuff. It's like, it's just, yeah, it's just whatever. Yeah, I'm trying to do some stuff where we're outside of time. Miss me with that bullshit. Hesitance, reticence with the Eight of Cups. Somebody seeing you leaving, or you looking to plan and strategize to leave. But that Seven of Pentacles is... I could read it as, just so it's not annoying with the time factor, I could read it as kind of walking away from something to let it prosper without the time mechanism kind of watching over it, because it just makes everything seem that much more just taking forever, right? Whereas you might want to be more gung-ho about things, and you want things to speed up and go at a faster pace. You got to walk away from it right now and just let it mature and grow on its own. So while we're doing that, you know, what could we be doing? You know, because it's just like, I'm watching these fishes over here, and one of them is very territorial. So this pink one is being very territorial and kind of knocking into the other ones. And then there's one hermit hiding in that rock over there. And it's just interesting because, you know, maybe that's a part of the message, right? But point being, you know, time, you could kind of be, I feel like you're in a situation where you could be salty about it, or you could, you know, just build your momentum, find the interesting things, you know, take advantage of certain situations. Like if you have to get up and go drop this thing off in the mailbox, you know, like I do over here, some like business paperwork that needs to be mailed, then it's like, you know, make some momentum out of that. Plan a day, you know, so you can have some structure, especially in this quarantine stuff where everything's locked down. If you're not currently working or anything, I think you might want to have a change of scenery, but finances obviously might be a part of this whole waiting aspect. I get that there could be some excitement into, you know, grand changes that may be emerging, but again, everything is kind of at a standstill, but we don't want to perceive things as a standstill while we're waiting. Okay, so the Ten of Cups just wanted to pop out, and I just looked at the clock and it said 10:10. So that's 10:10:10. It's just some sort of confirmation as to whatever you walked away from. This is in order for you to reach your Ten of Cups. That's just what it is. You had to cut something out so you could plan and strategize on what you're working on. Trust that a seed was planted in some way, shape, or form. Walking away from it in some regard with the Eight of Cups so you can get a return on your investment later with the Ten of Cups. Now, if it's a spiritual return versus a literal return, you could sometimes, if you start to see the cycles of life, see that, say for instance, you're investing in a person and some sort of spiritual return comes to you back in the form of another individual that walks into your life after you walk away from a situation. Things like that happen, right? And just as I'm saying that, the Six of Pentacles wants to emerge, which is all about reciprocity. So that's what I'm talking about in regards to like spiritual teachings and practices of no energy gain or loss. But I'll tell you right now, what's going to come through is going to be something very secure, very traditional, very stable and steady going here. It's going to be the real deal Holyfield. Especially with the Ten of Cups, that Six of Pentacles, reciprocity. So I'm getting that everything that you're walking away from was the opposite of what you're walking towards right now, which is actual harmony and happiness, which only comes about by being on the same page with an individual, equal reciprocity, give and take. And then the real, traditional, full-blown, however you want it, marriage or union or something right now. That's what it's telling me. Again, another Six of Wands here. So you got victory in whatever situation you did. The universe is saying that that you're getting what we're laying down. You're getting what we've been trying to teach you. And a lot of it is about self-worth, and a lot of it is about not allowing toxic people to just, first of all, the life experience of just not allowing any old toxic person to walk into your life. Second of all, kind of taking the medicine now so you can, as a means of, self-respect and dignity and standing up for yourself. Okay? Could be talking about two different situations or one form of the same situation, but whatever hard decisions or walking away from that you're doing now, it's because you've had this judgment moment and this world completion cycle moment where you could have fallen into the same cycle despite how deep you already felt into it, maybe based on previous cycles. But you chose to jump out in the nick of time, essentially, is what I'm getting. And you were probably, I'm looking at the fish food, it's a special flake food, so you were probably just feeding the flake this whole time. And cool, because you learned your lesson from it, essentially. You might have been feeding multiple flakes but you need these experiences in life So yeah, it's fun and exciting to jump into new things and to, just change the scenery and stuff. And that's all well and good, and you could still do that and live a life like that. But you have to set up boundaries, and you have to, kind of protect your territory, spiritually and literally. Like, again, I'm still seeing this fish air fight with the other fishes. And it could be that you're not in a healthy place environmentally wise, where you're living, and it could be that you're in a toxic situation, or you're in a relationship where someone's just kind of allowing you to, invest in them in ways in which they never have any intention in reciprocating. But again, that probably says a lot more about you than it does about them. So, obviously, depending on what we're talking about here, the situation is going to be different for anyone, who's resonating with this reading, or this reading is resonating with. But yeah, you got the Empress at the bottom. Oof, baby, baby, baby. You got the Empress at the bottom. Okay, which is birthing that new fucking life that you've been waiting for forever, for your entire life. You got the Nine of Cups, which is wishes fulfilled. And then you got the Ten of Cups, which is wishes fulfilled. So if you're watching this, let's just bask in this glory right here. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, but that's only possible because you went through the muck that you went through. And yes, you had to make hard decisions, but it was all for this higher learning and this whole maturation. And yes, maybe you let the fox get into the hen den, but you really learned what the worth and what everything was about, and character. And it's like, okay, simultaneously you probably needed to do that on a higher karmic spectrum to allow other things that have nothing to do with you to unfold. That's how the universe utilizes us, right? And in your cutting someone out, or looking to, in the not too distant future, looking to cut someone out for your own betterment, you're teaching them lessons, right? They're learning their own lessons. And you learned the lesson of just not, letting any old person come in, and you trying to help them, and, you kind of having their character really revealed at you, which is somewhat basically just narcissistic. And then vice versa with, another situation being where, or again, it could be one or two different situations, but it's like you're just having someone kind of, just receive and receive and receive, and just having no intention on ever making a commitment or showing some reciprocity, but really not even having the moral compass. And you probably being able to see that this person is actually doing the same to other people. And you're just like, well, I want nothing to do with that. You disgust me. I want nothing to do with that, or you. But so what does this reveal? This just essentially reveals maybe your kind-heartedness. But when you do kind of define those limits and take your medicine, because you were probably, benefiting from these dynamics as well, right? So maybe helping someone out made you feel like a somebody, or made you feel like a good person, and maybe you have your identity wrapped in being a good person or something. But if that puts you in a place where you're in a toxic environment, now you know the lesson. And you know what? It's so interesting and weird, because it's just like, it's almost like better to learn this lesson now than never learn it at all. So it's just like, it's something that like you never even bargained for. You didn't ask for this or that. And it's just one of those odd things in life that just, you're nowhere near the realm of, you know, bargaining for anything that you may have signed up for based on your intention, right? But then the reality of the person sets in or becomes clear, or we reach a point where you have some sort of evaluation of what's going on, and real character reveal themselves. But that's life, right? It's like you're wanting to, and then look, you got the Lover's card at the bottom too. So Spirit is telling you, let's just bask in that. Spirit is telling you, like, you have gone through, whether you deem them necessary or not, you've gone through these experiences, or you will be going through these experiences, where it's gonna prepare you to kind of just have really truly the life that you've always wanted in some way, shape, or form here. Because this is all I'm seeing. With the Hierophant, that's the marriage card, or some sort of union, tradition, agreement. We've agreed upon this structure. We're on the same page. We enjoy being here. And that's definitely highlighted with the Lover's card here. And the Ten of Cups. Which, do I have to say, it's perfect harmony and union with this couple. And the Nine of Cups, which is your own personal wish fulfillment based on how you're leading and loving and enjoying and excited about your life. The excitement in the Empress card here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Emperor pops up, but giving birth to that life that you've always wanted. Structurally, fundamentally, based on your moral compass and what you deem to be right. So that's that. I get a sense that you had to kind of deal with these unsavory characters so as to kind of kickstart your life in a way, is what I was trying to get at earlier. But you kind of going off on this grand odyssey, which is what life is about. Or if you haven't yet, I'll tell you now. It reveals, you and your miseries and your sufferings and your internal hells that, if you're stubborn, that you put yourself and keep yourself in, wanting to do things the right way or a certain way. But until you decide to change how you process information, how you react to information, that's what becoming, a full-fledged individual person means. And realizing that, your suffering essentially and what you decide to make yourself endure comes from you and your choices and your free will and volition. A lot of personality sparring, and that's all life experience, right? When you reflect upon those experiences, you kind of like pick up on what you could have done differently and how you could have approached certain things differently. So yeah, where you would have zagged, where you zigged, and vice versa. Maybe we make certain decisions based on the inability to make other decisions, right? And when you kind of make like let's just say something looks like an exciting opportunity or a way out, that ends up being the long odyssey that teaches us about ourselves in a long, drawn out way. But that's life, okay? So that's what I'm kind of getting at. And that's not to say that you weren't valid in making a certain decision. It's what you knew best to do in that given circumstance with the tools that you had at that moment. And you have to have trust and faith that ultimately it's going to lead you to the level at which you're meant to be at. Water reaches its own level, right? People's true, genuine nature comes out over time. You realize who are your rides or dies. And you realize how you act in a certain situation, and you probably know how to handle things better now because of certain experiences. That you definitely wouldn't do over again, knowing now what you know. And now that you're at the tail end of that, you kind of have to come into commune with the fact that I do have a lot to be excited for in life coming up. I'm not the same as I was going in as I am coming out. And really, truly, a lot of your faith has to be banked off of that understanding. A lot of the lens that you're using while you're, in the depths of some sort of crossing, it can't be the same as you were using upon entering, right? You have to have perspective. I think it's really easy to lose perspective, or I should say, to lose the understanding that you have to adjust for perspective based on where you're at now versus where you were back then. And back then could just be, late 2019. We're in a totally different ballpark right now. League. So what's expected of us is completely different than anything that we might have, felt that we were prepared for at the end of last year. That being said, adjusting the lens and recalibrating for current given circumstances is needed for adaptation. And adaptation is needed to succeed, to keep going, to thrive, truly. To reach that point of wishes fulfillment and, having learned lessons, deep lessons on codependency and emotional independence. And that always harkens to your wiring and your programming based on where you come from, quite literally, your lineage, how you were raised. And as adults, we have to undo that wiring and rewire and find a healthy way of operating, or else we sell ourselves short. And we end up living a life that we don't want to live. So it's a constant calibrating of what am I willing to do? What am I genuinely willing to do and be excited for? Where am I perceiving this reality incorrectly in that I am waiting versus actually living my life? What does actually living my life look like? What does fun look like? What does genuine fun look like? What are the fears and blockages that are keeping me from living in that way that I want to? You gotta be you, boo, at the end of the day. And you gotta love yourself for that. For how you are. Despite what anyone or anything says. So things might feel good in the short term, but they're not good for you in the long run if both parties aren't on the same page. So that's what I'm getting. And you had to do what you had to do. In order to get yourself out of that situation. Though it felt good right now, you knew that given the constraints of the given situation, you were probably doing what you always do, which is give way too much leverage or credit to the other party. But again, like, this is from the get, you're trying to navigate as best as you can with the knowings that you do have. So you can't beat yourself up, and you can't take it as a loss here. And I think that's also what this trophies signifies, is all the sagas that you've been through and that you've accomplished, and all the levels that you've essentially passed and achieved. You know. And you're starting to rewire your brain to constantly give yourself the benefit of the doubt, because you've been through everything and back. And it's like, quite literally having gone through your seasons in your mythology of what every championship means here. And it's a reflective, you know. And I think that's what every one of these cups means. Every one of these trophies. And the more advanced that you get into personhood, the more you learn some of the deeper, more profound, significant lessons in life, which is emotional independency and being able to stand on your own as a person. And some people don't get to experience that in their lifetime. But those who really truly cross that abyss pretty much set themselves up. And I almost want to say, you know, set humanity up for some awesome, beautiful, unfathomable, unimaginable times ahead. Granted, we all have to have this journey, and the journey can only go so far as, you know, you go. In regards to lessons that we're learning. But you know, if you wanted that awesome, great, amazing thing, then you had to do those awesome, great, amazing things to get there. you had to endure what others wouldn't endure. And it's pretty amazing. And yeah, you may want to ruminate, how did all this get started? What happened again? Going through your own personal mythology so as to know what the next natural progression of a puzzle piece would be right now to complete this picture that you have in mind of your life and how you want it to be. But you can't beat yourself up for making certain decisions. You kind of just got to give yourself all the credit, all the benefit of the doubt, and give yourself all the praise and love for having endured everything and stacked up those victories despite the odds. The odds were stacked against you, clearly, and still you're here. And nobody will ever know what you went through except for you. So you really have to, like, you know, take time to really stand back in awe for all that you've been through and all that you've accomplished. And I don't think we do that enough. And I think sometimes it's easy to paint the image of, yeah, my life would have been this, my life would have been that if I would have made this decision versus that decision. But you have to know that that's not real either. Meaning life is never going to be perfect, despite what decision you would have made. But what we can say now is your journey was almost formulated based on where you're coming from, lineage, familially. So and when we butt heads with people, obviously all of our constraints and characters and programming and requirements are kind of all frictioning up against each other, because that person is on their journey, or those people are on their journey. So that's where we meet at odds. And who knows, you might still make dumb bonehead decisions based off of circumstances that you're in. But if that's who you are and you're uncompromising in that, then be you, boo, do you. But there's certain things that you will keep with you undoubtedly that you'll probably at least be able to think of now in terms of, okay, are we on the same page of wanting to do this and that, and how far in on this are you, and are you all in or not, basically? Where are you coming from? Do I fuck with your character and your background and all that stuff? And so you're going to be uncompromising now, and you're putting up with some sort of dog and pony show. Despite how good it feels maybe right now, or in that moment. That's what I mean by like taking your medicine. Because if you truly want to get the life that you want, then you can't settle for something that feels good right now. You have to make hard decisions, hard sacrifices, go through emotional dependency, codependency withdrawals, and kind of cut that off from yourself for your highest better good, so you can get the real deal that's really meant for you and that you really deserve. So don't beat yourself up. You're gonna know now, and it's gonna be important to you now. And maybe it was necessary to make foolish decisions before to get to this point, so as to have that ability to critique and judge your highest life that you're trying to live now. You're gonna know now that, yeah, I'm gonna want to know, like, how in are you, and then you strike out from there. Life's never gonna be perfect, maybe, but you're kind of always just building off of like what you have instilled in you. But you also have to have that faith or knowing of like that ace up your sleeve, which is your own twist, your own patois, your own flavor added based on where you're coming from. You're always going to be an evolution of progress, a step from where you come from, ideally. Philosophically and in all those ways. But it's a paradox. Having to go through what you went through to get here now, only to know better going forward. It's like cracking eggs to make an omelet, Ooh, baby. Another Ace of Cups. Showing your heart. Showing your strength to endure. Beyond, I mean, fuck what anyone else thinks, but beyond what you even thought you were capable of. The human capacity that you're expressing and showing right now, and obviously the Ace of Cups is that of an emotional solace offer in some way, shape, or form that I think is just going to continue to be in line of what your great reapings and rewards are for that crazy expectation that you've had in your life. That has always been the underlying dividing line current, which is like your confidence, really, that you're born with. That can't be shook. Your knowing of self and your standard and expectation of self. And yeah, it's real and it's happening. And I think you're kind of really truly seeing the value in being by yourself emotionally too, which is going to help teach you the value of what it is to truly be in a partnership. Very dope, very keen. But you can only know the true value of a partnership and people carrying their weight because you have done it on your own emotionally, independently. And that you really need that Nine of Cups is emotional dependency in order to receive that cup from someone else. To be two fledged, whole, separate, complete entities. And when you can see that within yourself, then you can see that in others. But playing at the level that you were playing at previously, you don't know what you don't know. That's why you can't really beat yourself up, right? So but it's almost as if like you didn't even have any urges to be on your own 2 feet until you learn how bad it could get when you try to lean on the wrong people. And so with this whole Queen of Swords here, where we started was you realizing like, this is no bueno, man. I'm better off on my own, knowing what I know now. But again, you can only get to that point of knowing what I know now if you have gone through the toxicity. And you're also learning your limitations on what you bear witness to based on your own moral compass. So you having attracted probably maybe some unsavory characters helps you define who you are morally. So that's always good. And what you represent, what you actually mean. So it's really good to zoom back. If you're having a hard time now, if you are feeling like you're in a holding pattern, it's really good to zoom back and see how far you've come and, where you're headed based on your inner knowing of how you want to live your life and what's right. Because that's real. That's just as real as anything. You're on a ship and your trajectory is based on your final destination, and that's based on meaning you're reaching that point is based on your understanding and the realization that your inner belief and vision for how you want your life is as real as anything. Not enough credence is given to that. Your standard, as wildly high as it might be, if you want the smoking hot wife, the smoking hot job, the smoking hot salary, clientele, joie de vie, creatively, spiritually, philanthropically, you want a full, rich, fat life in every area. That is all very viable and possible. Because you believe it. We probably feel like we have these limitations, but it's only based on us probably not giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt, It's good to be wildly, wanting and expecting of a final goal or point or destination of your life. And for you to be excited and believe in that dream inside. And then you just add, how am I going to plan it? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Again, that's what this is saying. That's what that world in your hand represents. But you have to be excited about it. You literally have to channel that fire, passion, electric excitement that is going to be required to fuel that vision. That's what the tarot teaches us. From fire to water to air to earth, which is manifestation at the final end of it all. The elements of the tarot. And if you're not doing that, and if any of that is contingent on anyone else, and that anyone else is either toxic, keeping you hanging on, then you're wasting your time. You might as well, and it's so ironic because, say for instance you want that holy matrimony, 10 of Cups relationship, whatever, in order to do that, You need to be emotionally independent and literally on your own 2 feet, able to provide for yourself, able to do this, that, and the third, travel this whole world for yourself, or, whatever. Feed yourself, provide for yourself, whatever it is. Emotional independence being the key here with this 9 of Cups. And then basically just having no one to lean on but yourself. Okay. Now that doesn't have to be like I have no support group or whatever, but it's basically not being in any toxic relationship or situation for the wrong reasons. We're doing it for the right reasons now, right? 555 on the screen. 5. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. 4 5s. Anyways. So yeah, it's doing everything for the right reasons, especially when it comes to relationships. And not escapism in your relationships. It's a key. That's how you get this right here. Right? Not covering things up, not hiding things, ugly truths, not sweeping things under the rug, not lying to yourself, but really truly looking at it in the face and in the eye and saying, this is what I want, and I can achieve this. But you got to look inside and around in your life and seeing what you don't want and what's not adding up, what's not meeting your expectations, and you got to be willing to cut that out if it's not legit.